Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Cali Midnight Channel. Finally, we get to some transgender history here in America. As I've come to find out, our history here is a lot longer than anyone these days wants to admit. And from the transphobes, you'll hear some wild ideas about how the idea of being trans itself started in 2016 after Trump was elected. If you can even pick out something sensible between the ramblings about Jewish space lasers or how vaccines are cantankerous work of, I don't know, pick your favorite super evil demon. However, the idea of being trans goes back much further. Maybe one day I'll do a video trying to figure out an exact date of when it was first recorded, but right now we have a very solid date as to when the fight for our rights started here in America. In fact, the movement started so long ago that it predates not just the turn of the century, nor the Vietnam War, nor the start of the Cold War, but both world wars and the last turn of the century. We've been going here in America since before 1895, well over 100 years at this point, as that particular date marks the beginning of the first transgender advocacy group here in America, Circle Hermaphroditos. Circle Hermaphroditos, by the way, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, so just bear with me here. Named after the Greek mythological figure Hermaphroditus, is an informal advocacy group started in New York, quote, to unite for defense against the world's bitter persecution, unquote. As they still existed in a dangerous time to be yourself, very little evidence of the group still exists today, which to me speaks to just how skillfully they were at keeping themselves hidden. Something like that would obviously be required to keep safe at this time. Given this scarcity of information, though, many historians have questioned if the group even existed at all, which is of course to be expected from the "they must have been roommates" crowd. But despite their doubts, we do indeed have a solid, credible source for the group itself existing, that being the autobiography of one Jeannie June. Jeannie June identified at the time as an instinctive female impersonator, which is most commonly the descriptor the community used back then to describe what we now know today as transgender women, though Jeannie themselves can more accurately be described as gender fluid, using he, him to refer to themselves most of the time. The name Jeannie June is technically a pseudonym that Jeannie wrote under, obviously in order to keep their identity a secret and keep safe in the world they lived in. Jeannie will likely need their own video at some point in the future, but what you need to know for this video is that they were one of the earliest known advocates for LGBTQ+ rights in America. The account of what we know about Circle Hermaphroditos comes mainly from Jeannie's first autobiography, the autobiography of an androgen. From what Jeannie describes, the group only ever knew each other by what they called pseudonyms, similarly to how we today shed our own given names to go by chosen names within the community. The group was led by one Roland Reeves, someone we have been unable to find anything about to this day. Unfortunately, that's about all we know for sure about the activism of the group. Most of the activism we can solidly pin down comes from what we know of Jeannie, and that is best saved for their own video. Circle Hermaphroditos existed in a time when the mere act of cross-dressing was indeed a punishable crime, with punishments ranging from jail time of up to 6 months or psychiatric institutionalization. The barbaric rule used to throw these people in the slammer was known among the LGBTQ+ community at the time as the 3-article rule, in which you had to wear 3 articles of clothing that related to the gender you were assigned at birth. A part of me, if I ever get a time machine, wants to go back and grab one of these fragile men to bring them back to 2025 just to a sidewalk somewhere, just to see how legendarily their meltdown is at seeing the oh-so-dreaded woman in pants. The sorry sack of potatoes would probably explode at the mere mention of shorts as an article of clothing, and these were the people tossing people into mental institutions. Naturally, with the coppers at the time waddling around, staring intently at every single passerby to see if they could catch a whiff of a silk dress or a set of jeans where they claimed they didn't belong, in order for Circle Hermaphroditos to even exist at all, they needed a place to gather. And that place would be known as the Paresis Hall, commonly by the populace. Paresis Hall, otherwise known as Columbia Hall, or also just the Hall, was used as a brothel and gay bar which was located on 392 Bowery in Manhattan, New York. It was owned by a gangster by the name of James T. Ellison, and the Circle would often store their different clothes there for use when they would gather together. According to Jeannie, the first floor of the building was a simple bar and beer garden, with all the floors above the first being where the group would meet, as well as where gay prostitutes would do their business. While Paresis Hall was the most common name for the location amongst the general populace, that was what the opposition mainly called the place, as the word paresis was used as a general term for insanity, and the name came from the myth myth that androgens could induce it in men. The people who actually attended the place seemed to prefer to call it by its other names, most commonly the simple use of the hall. The hall remained active through the 1890s until 1899. After the closing of the hall, it is unfortunately not known if or where the circle gathered, but wherever these brave people went, I truly hope they were able to live as well as they could. These people lived in a time that we today can't even imagine living in, even with how much the conservatives are trying to bring us back there. I look back on what we actually know about what these people believed in and went through just to have community, and I look to what we have now. In all honesty, I think they would be proud of how far we've come. Jeannie wanted a plaque, not only to leave a lasting legacy for themselves, but to show the world that they were in fact there. And now, plaques of all kinds exist in cities all across the United States, memorializing the community that once had to stay hidden in a dingy bar somewhere in Manhattan. This memory is what we have things like Pride Month for. This is why we have the flags, because whatever battles of activism the Circle Hermaphroditos worked for in their time, we can now proudly proclaim victory for by letting those banners wave alongside the flag of our country. We've been here a long time, and we'll be here another 200, 400, 1,000, and for now, it's time to be proud of how far we've come. Because the circle never really disappeared. We just call it by the names of all of our identities now. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this romp through our history, and I hope this video helps you feel inspired to be curious about where we came from. Even with how rough the country is right now, we can be proud to know just how quickly we've been making progress for ourselves. It's only been 13 years since 2012, and in that time we've made the dreams of the Circle members come true. Nothing can take that away from us. That's all for now. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video with someone who might benefit from it. I hope you all have a good day, and I'll see you next time.